So here, if you do want to go aggressive, there is a way to go through the trees. Either you're using an Apocalypse or a Thor's Hammer in a fairly higher level, or you're using a big topper here that you can play with a lower level as well. Because the goal here is actually to get through the trees by rolling down the hill there to get out to a wedge. We can play this one very aggressive. We can also play it a little bit less aggressive. Very aggressive is to go through the little gap between the most, like, what can we count it as? The second and the third tree counting from the right, or we can go in between the bigger gap between the fourth and the fifth tree counting from the right. And that's what I'm gonna do, because what I want here is a way to hit great left or great right and perfect and still roll out for a wedge. In a tailwind and a crosswind, I would see this is a possibility to play like this. In a headwind, I would personally lay up as is now, but I'm not ruling out that if you can use overpower and special balls and get yourself down to this area as well. That's obviously up to you to decide how aggressive you want to go, but that's why we're also having a layup option for you, so you can see a reference for that as well. Second shot is just a standard wedge, plays EB School plus a 20% elevation, P3 number, stretch out to judge what slider you're having, and then you judge what distance you're having and then set your slider. So this is just a normal wedge. We have a flat green, very simple eagle to start with. So again, playing an aggressive shot definitely involves a risk in terms of if you're clipping the trees in the wrong way, you might get stuck into the rough, you might get behind a tree, but the reward you can get is if you're playing the drive well, then you will find a way of having a nice and short eagle, and then you don't have to deal with any layup. But again, a layup is coming up here as well. Make sure to pay close attention to that also. On the drive here, we are going to play this one down like very short and controlled. It's going to be an NMT with our Apocalypse. And you can see here now that I'm using left spin. I'm also using top spin. The goal here is to position myself to play in between the two big trees on the right. You can see there is a lot of trees, but at least the two middle trees, if that makes sense. So that's my goal here with this shot. Adjustment here now is going to be, you can see here now I'm looking at the terrain a little bit as well to see the opportunities and the possibilities. Adjustment here now is medium distance, and I'm playing this one 10% downhill as a base. So medium distance plus 10 is this drive. Perfect ball, and we can see the ball land very nicely on the fairway, get up towards the two bunkers on the right as the fairway slightly slopes left to right. So be careful with the bunkers there on the right, but now we are in a nice position for the second shot. On the second shot here, we're going to play a rough bump, and here it is important to play with at least 3 bars of side spin to the right. I would say if we would have driven a little bit longer, that would actually have been a little bit better. But you can see that we do have a nice ball guideline here with our thorn, and I'm looking around to see if I can't really find a sticky spot or something, which I cannot. In headwind, I'm leaving the ball guideline through the hole, and I'm going to have to aim very close to the rough line as well. Have in mind that in tailwind, we are going to gain distance. We're also going to adjust from a lower to a higher point, which also is going to make us gain distance. Then we need to start way further back than what I'm having here. But in headwind, and also in crosswind, we can aim closer to the rough line at the end because we're adjusting from a higher to a lower point, and then that's going to be much easier to compensate for, as we can then aim with the ball guideline through the hole instead of aiming short and having to offset and stuff like that. I played the second shot 25% elevation through club distance, as it is fairly downhill. Obviously that adjustment could differ depending on what type of wind direction you do have on the second shot. Get our guide on patreon.com/golfclashtommy if you do want to have an advantage in the upcoming Rocky Mountain tournament here in Golf Clash the game. Links is in the description down below. You can also scan the QR code that you can find on the screen.